Hello and welcome to Stroke by Stroke. I am going to do a step-by-step tutorial. I feel very much like I have the last couple of videos I've really been focusing on myself, trying to get my brain back in order. So I think it's time to give you guys a little something to play with. So this is my mineral paper, and I just used an old paper towel, put a little water in there, and now I'm just sealing the edges down. This mineral paper is easy to get. You can get it from an art supply store. Probably a bigger one. It is a little harder to find. You might need to look in the multimedia, mixed media kind of world to find it, because what mineral paper is calcium carbonate, which is limestone, shells, things like that. So that means this is not absorbent. And I put something here just to give the camera something to focus on, because it does not like just a white screen. Okay, so being a non-absorbent medium, this mineral paper, I got this on Amazon a while back, and it was 30 sheets, and they're very thin, but you know, you can't tear them and stuff like that, for $14.99, and I'm sure there were tax and stuff after that. So I will be using my Hake brush, Hake. I think my aphasia is finally getting better, by the way. I had a really hard time last, I don't know, at least a week, I would say. But anyway, so there's that brush, and I will be using, I have 2 jars of clear water, and I have my mineral paper is on a piece of tempered glass from an old curio cabinet that I don't have anymore, and I've made this as level as I can, I think. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's not, oh, it's certainly not perfect that direction, so let's see what we can do to make that better. There's that. That's better. Okay. I use a level. I'm on an old plastic card table here. Oh, look, and there was schmutz on the level. Great. But anyway, that way I can adhere the paper to the surface, just a little bit of water and the suction that happens. If I had a little squeegee, that would be awesome, but I don't. Anyway, so I'm going to use my Hake brush, and then I have a size 11 round brush that I'm going to use, and this one right here is a 10 Filbert. Okay. And I don't have any like really expensive brushes. I just use the less expensive brushes, but I do get ones that have soft bristles. If I was rich, I would have fantastic brushes, but I'd rather put the money in the actual supplies that I use, and I think these are fine for now. I also have a pipette that I can use. I don't know if I will. Paper towels. I use a ton of paper towels. I work very wet. Excuse me. And I have, these are Aquafine is the name. It's from Daler-Rowney Aquafine watercolor ink. And this is student grade, but for what I'm doing, I think it's perfectly fine. I am not a professional artist, really. Yes, I am trained, but you know, I'm doing this. I used to be an art therapist, so this tutorial is aimed toward folks who may not know me, by the way, or just stumbled across this. So if you already know these things, just bear with me. But anyway, so the Aquafine is what I use, and also Daler-Rowney FW white acrylic ink, and I liked it so much that I bought a giant thing of it. And I also have Artfinity liquid watercolor. This is indigo. I have indigo, magenta, and primary yellow. And I really like those for this particular paper because this paper acts completely different from normal, quote unquote, watercolor paper or anything like that. Okay, and I like to use the apple barrel. This is the matte. I prefer matte surfaces personally. This is jet black and it's craft paint. And I got this at Walmart for 58 cents for a two ounce bottle. And I also have a whole bunch of different colors of that. So, and I also have a ton of different kinds of tube watercolors. These are my White Nights. These are granulating watercolors, and I really like these because they have multiple colors in them as the pigments settle out. So granulation just means that it's got heavier particles that settle. Like I do use it. This is a perfectly smooth surface. It works amazingly well with watercolor paper, especially the rough or cold press. But I find that I like what it does here too. These are also White Nights granulating watercolors. So I have several different kinds, and these are pan watercolors. And I also use pearl watercolors, metallic watercolors, I guess you could say. And I have a whole bunch of little bottles of mica, just plain mica, that I often will use. And I got an Arteza set a while ago. This one is chameleon blue. So it's, I don't know if it's showing or not, but it's like a blue and red together. It's really nice. I may use that today. And I also will often use different kinds of acrylic media on the paper. I have this. I have one that is for making a crackled texture. I have clear tall gel, which is like stringy stuff. I have some that have glass beads in it, so little tiny beads. So a whole bunch of different kinds of things. And I also have a bunch of Sennelier oil pastels that I like to use as well. I have a ton of water supplies, yeah, art supplies. And I had a stroke, and so I have aphasia, and sometimes I may say things that don't make a lot of sense. And that's the main reason for this channel, is for me to work with art, because I was an art therapist until I had to stop. anyway, to use art to help me heal after my stroke. So I'm going to do wet on wet, which just means I'm putting water on the mineral paper first, because it does some lovely things. There's a thing called bloom that happens. And I am a fan of granulation and the wet on wet, and I tend to work very wet. Okay, so there I have a wet surface going, and I'm sure that the camera probably is having a hard time with all this. And this is indigo. I think I'm gonna actually start with the magenta today. So this is the Artfinity magenta liquid watercolor, and I'm just gonna put drops, and you can see there how it's blooming. And I know this one will stain the mineral paper. So there I just put some dots in. And now I'm going to add some of my acrylic ink. And you'll see it does some fun stuff. Poof! Look at that. Because it's acrylic, it handles differently when it hits the liquid watercolor. It just explodes, and to me that is absolutely exciting, and every color is a little bit different. All right, and then this is the Daler-Rowney, and you got to shake stuff. Okay, this is ultramarine blue dark, and so it's a beautiful blue color. And this is watercolor, so it is pigment based, as opposed to dye based. And see how that does even by itself, just insane, wonderful, beautiful things. And one thing I really do like about ultramarines is they granulate on their own. And so I love it. And one thing that also happens with the droppers in my pipette too is it will put bubbles on. Okay, and let's see here. So I generally do 1 or 2 colors, white and something dark. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for the dark. I'm going to use sepia, I think, because that's a little bit of a warmer brown. And this is the FW, so this is acrylic ink. And so I use watercolor and inks a lot together. And now I'm going to come back in here to the white acrylic ink. Okie dokie. And I could just let it do this and call it a day, but I actually really do like how it there's another bubble. I like how it spreads and stuff. But now I'm going to come in here with my 11 round brush, and I really like these brushes because the tip comes down to a fine point, and you can also, you know, use it that way for a longer or broader, that's the word. You know, actually though, I'm really liking this, and I'm gonna do a zoom in here so you can see that. Let's see here. And now I'm just thinking about what I want to do next, because I almost exclusively, not completely, but almost exclusively do intuitive abstract images. I have no interest personally in doing things that look like things I can see if I just use my eyes. I prefer to do things where it's exploring my mood, or, you know, the things that aren't necessarily recognizable. To me, that's just more interesting. But every artist is different, and let me tell you right now, whatever you want to do is perfectly fine. There isn't any right or wrong in art. There is just information and expression. I get to express myself, and oh boy, the aphasia is really hitting me right this very second. So sorry, friends, because I can't remember what I was saying. That's a thing. I have multiple medical issues, and destigmatizing both disability and various physical and mental health topics is my passion, honestly. So besides healing myself, I do like to educate, because I was a professor. And then I left that, and that was just water I dropped in, by the way. Anyway, I left being a professor, went to New Mexico, and decided to become an art therapist. So I was in school for a long time. I did it slowly so I could really immerse myself in it. And now I'm just putting a wet brush, just dipping it into the mica powder. I don't follow rules, okay? I like to experiment and figure out what I'm trying to do. You know, it's like, am I exploring an idea? Am I playing? This is emotional regulation for me, which means when I'm feeling particularly upset or something, this can be extremely helpful in making me calm down, slow down, and just generally feel better. And I know I'm rambling, I'm sorry. I haven't talked with you all for a while, so, because I've not been okay myself, so, and I'm here to give you permission. It's okay to not be okay, and that's a cliche for a reason. And it is okay to break rules of art. I don't recommend that you do that necessarily in the real world. You know, like, I tend to follow the rules of things like, you know, laws and just getting along well with other people, that kind of thing. That's different. Those are different rules. This is my way to be a rebel without hurting anyone or anything. Because the worst that can happen is it looks horrible, and I know if I do that again, I'm likely to end up with something that I don't like. But along the way, I begin to learn what the materials can and cannot do. Like in the video yesterday, I added to this kind of thing, exact same kind of situation, I added linseed oil. And that's something that you're not, quote unquote, supposed to do with water-based media. Linseed oil is usually used with things like oil painting or oil pastels. Yeah, I see your rules. I appreciate them. I see that they're there for a reason. And frankly, I don't care. And if you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. I hope we don't all like the same things, because what a boring world that would be. But I am a great experimenter. I really enjoy experimenting, learning new things. That's been something else with my stroke. My ability to learn has taken a huge hit. And I also don't have, what do you say? My understanding of numbers, I don't understand numbers anymore. I had a quote unquote moderate to large ischemic stroke. That means it's a blockage. And so a portion of my brain on my left side, in the temporoparietal section, is where I had the stroke. And so that affects numbers, aphasia, language. Sometimes I can't read. Sometimes I can't understand what other people are saying. And more often, I have trouble speaking. I am incredibly lucky, because the aphasia, even though it's significant and it's there, like, most people can't tell the difference, but I know the difference. Believe you me, I do. And sometimes I'll say like very inappropriate things accidentally. We have in Indiana, where I live, there is a pizza chain called Pizza King. And one day, when I was talking to my best friend, I actually said I was going to order something from pizza, and then think of C word, really bad word to use when talking about like women. So the C word, so it became pizza C word. And I still joke with my best friend about that. I didn't mean to say that, of course, but it just came out. But a more appropriate one that I did that was hilarious was, I was talking about the there I just did, I was going to say Swinish, the Spanish Inquisition, and I called it the Spanish Inconvenience. So that was hilarious. And now you can see here, if you look at what's happening, it's blending out, and it's doing some really beautiful stuff in the process. And so the way I tend to do the art here is I let the materials do what they're going to do, and I just facilitate what I want it to do by doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Just manipulating the water and the materials in ways that I find to be pleasing. So yeah, and I'm just, you know, moving this stuff around here, getting the different colors maybe to work together a little bit better. Yeah, I will often use a hairdryer. If I did it right now, it would just, you know, move all over the place, and I do that on purpose sometimes. But I am not doing that on purpose right now. So I think I am going to come back here. This is the ultramarine blue dark again. And I'm going to hit the center like that. And then I'm going to come back to the white acrylic and do that. And let's see here. I'm coming back here to my round, my round brush. And I'm just gonna just gently mushing those things together. So it's the mica and the it's the mica, ultramarine blue dark, and FW white that I've put in here. And now I'm just adding water to it, and I swooshed it around a little bit to get more of an action happening. I really like how it dries when I do things like this. Now, I'm not happy with how this particular part looks. So I'm going to come in, what am I going to do? Yeah, have cats. Oh, and I have 6 cats and a dog, so there's always hair in my artwork. No matter what I do, I can't help it. This is the Filbert brush, and I'm just moving liquid around because I don't like that part much at all. So I'm gonna add more of where'd it go? I'm always doing that too. I'm always losing whatever I'm working with. And it's really annoying. I also have pretty significant ADHD, and it can be a serious issue. I'm looking for my sepia ink. I had it like 2 seconds ago, and now I can't find it. Hey, there we go. I found it. Okay. And I'm going to just lay this in, and I'm squeezing the bulb as I'm doing that because I want quite a bit of this. And I'm just basically doing like a frame around all the edges. Okay. And it's all going to kind of move in that direction because even though it's level, I have an open window behind me and the wind is blowing. And now, of course, my trusty white acrylic ink. And I'm doing 2 drops for each of the little starburst type things I want to happen. There's a hair. Come on. There we go. Bunch of bubbles. Because I shake these things to get them going, and then of course that adds water. So yeah, that was 3 drops. I'm just doing a bunch of dots here because I really like how it bleeds So I'm going to facilitate that. And it's all going that direction, so I'm going to add things under, because I also live in a trailer, and so even the floors are not exactly 100% level, I don't think. So yeah, and when it's cold, you hear my furnace, whom I've named Walter, and it's deafening. But thankfully right now I don't have to mess with that because it is getting up into the 80s today because the weather is insane. Why not? Everything else is. And I can tilt the board too. That's another reason I like using this board, is it allows me to use gravity to help paint the image, frankly. Okay. It's doing a little bit of like granulation and stuff. I've been using 91% isopropyl alcohol in the images, and I think that either one of my pipettes here in eyedroppers or something actually like had a little bit of that on it, because that is what happens when I do that. So okay, and I don't like this or that, and when I don't like something I just can come in here there you go, because it was just too stark with all the other stuff. Okay, and now I'm going to use a paper towel as also a way to kind of move the paints around. I've got several different ways I can do it. If I dap right in the middle here, it does a really interesting texture. So I'll do that like right here. And it also helps to, of course, absorb excess paint or ink or whatever. Okay, and now I'm coming back here to my paintbrush, but I'm going to, it's clean, but I dried it off because I want to move this and just kind of invite the pigment to kind of go into that area. I don't want to add more liquid at this point. And I love layering colors and textures together because I think that is just beautiful. Makes it richer, I think. And so, yeah, that's the beauty of something like this, because you're 100% in charge of the image. And if you don't like something, you change it. And I've learned too to be fearless with it, because yeah, it may not do what I want it to do, but likely it's going to do something pretty interesting. So I'm going to come in here and invite this to, and I'm very lightly just moving those together. And now I'm going to use my hairdryer, and I'm going to use it on low. You're going to see a huge change, most likely. Hold on, it's dirt. My cord keeps getting stuck. Okay, here we go. You can see it really changed it. And unfortunately, I'm still trying to figure out how to get these neat things like this to stay. Oh, there's a big old hair. Okay. And the nice part about this technique is as it dries in areas, the pigments will go around the dry spots, but then discovering how to do that is literally just a process of experimentation, because you're not going to know if you don't try it. So, and that does a lot actually to help me not worry about failure, because yeah, I'm learning. And so, and I know from a neurobiology point of view that when we fail, there is emotion involved. And when there's emotion involved, it will help you remember, because the brain likes to store that kind of information and go, aha, if you do X, then Y will happen. And if you liked it, you keep it. If you don't like it, move on. But now you know, if you do that again, it's likely to do the same thing again. So, okay. And more of the hairdryer. And I'm going to get another paper towel here. I'm going to use one that I've used in the past. And another thing that I highly recommend that you do if you, boy, my memory is not very good today. If you want to make better abstract images, or intuitive abstract or whatever, if you want to plan it, that's perfectly fine too. It's your world. You get to do whatever you want. But using the principles of design, which you can certainly Google about, things like composition and contrast and color and you know, balance and harmony and opposition, you know, all those kinds of things are gonna just help you make better images. So I'm constantly trying to think about that too. And I'm getting to the point where I don't like the bright pink here, but I may deal with that here in a minute. We'll see. And colors, one thing to pay attention to is, like with most watercolors and things like that, it's going to dry lighter. So. And something else, this kind of process, if you are like a control freak and a perfectionist, this can drive you crazy. I used to be. I I used to believe that I could control lots of things. The universe has proven to me that I can't control much of anything. So for me, the lack of control inherent in this process, along with curiosity about, well, I wonder what's going to happen if I do blah, 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 helps me to make peace with the chaos of this kind of process. So that for me is worth it, because not being in control is honestly part of my point here. But working with what shows up. So I oftentimes have no clue what I'm going to do until I'm actually doing it. So yeah, it's an interesting process of organized chaos. More of the hairdryer. And these images can get out of control pretty quickly. And judgment, it's like, oh, that sucks, or, you know, oh, that's wonderful. It has its place, but it can also be absolutely stifling, because it affects your confidence in trying to control. So yeah, I'm gonna come back, I think, I'm gonna use burnt umber watercolor ink now, because it's all bleaching out more than I really want. And so I'm just gonna come in here and I'm just gonna add this so that I can play with it. All right, let's see. And the difference between watercolor ink and acrylic ink, the acrylic ink, it's like acrylic paint in that it will dry and stay pretty permanent. Watercolor ink, however, you can reactivate with water. Not terribly surprising. But yeah, you know, so that's one of the reasons that I use the two different things, because it does completely different effects. And just so you know, I am not in any way, shape, or form an expert in this, you know, or pretty much anything, because I'm just playing. I'm literally playing. And just the act of moving things around and creating something, even if it ends up being just a terrible mess, is extremely therapeutic for me. And it actually helps the brain, because it's kinesthetic, meaning it's very active, and so I am processing things in a different way than I do with words when I use art, just in general. So that's why I became an art therapist. Okay, I like it better with a little balance here, because it was just getting a little bit too light. I wanted more contrast. So, and now this is just water. This is just a 32-ounce spray bottle, and it comes out pretty coarse, and I love it. It does a beautiful texture. So I'm just gonna spritz, and you can see how it's activating that liquid watercolor here, the magenta liquid watercolor. So, and I knew it was going to do that. So, yeah. And I didn't add a whole lot of water here, just a little bit. And now I'm going to come back here to my hairdryer. What I was doing right there is I am using water as like a highway for the pigment. That's the beauty of the water-based media, that you can direct it with water. And then the hairdryer forces it to go where I want it to go. Or ish. Everything is ish. And I'm going to spritz again. Now I'm just tilting. Okay. That bled through there. Meh, that's all right. Okay. More hairdryer. Something that I used to do with my clients, and I'm doing with myself now, is when I do this process, it's very mindful. This is a wonderful mindfulness process, because while I'm doing this, that's pretty much all I'm thinking about. And so it's useful for that too. So if my mind, or your mind, is racing, which has been happening a lot for me lately, you know, or just your thoughts are out of control, doing this and really focusing on what you're doing, getting into that kind of flow, extremely therapeutic. So yeah. And just watching the colors move, that's a big part of it for me, because I just love watching what's happening. And I'm watching without judgment. That doesn't mean without discernment, but I am not telling myself, oh, this is terrible, or oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm simply observing and allowing, and then directing. And it's not a way of doing art that is, quote unquote, the classical way, because we get so caught up in being an artist that it can actually be harmful. I may end up doing some critiques in here, but when I was a professor, I did all kinds of critiques, and my students really said they enjoyed. And I don't do it in a way that cuts a person down, which I have experienced. I've had my own professors, particularly art professors, who did that. And that is deadly for a creative process, frankly. So I don't have much interest in doing that kind of thing. And this has really helped me, this kind of process, doing art in general. and especially the more intuitive controlled chaos, or in this case today, a little less controlled. Anyway, it's just such a wonderful way to practice, what's the word? Like radical acceptance, because I do struggle with substance abuse myself. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had anything to drink since January 19th of this year. But radical acceptance is, for me, and I was a substance abuse therapist for a long time. Well, not a long time, but it's huge, and not just in substance abuse. It's actually huge with just being able to deal with yourself and finding grace with yourself. I know so many people who just are they bully themselves. And in this process, being able to let go, the bully goes away for me. But I've had to make a bunch of really bad images too. And yeah, I can struggle with that just like everybody. But it's also really, really helpful. Okay. So I'm gonna come back in here and use the hairdryer. Okay. And kind of in that vein a little bit there, of, you know, accepting yourself and mistakes and, you know, things like that. You'll hear so many times people will say, you know, do affirmations, you know, love yourself. Well, if that's been an issue in your life, loving yourself, and you pretty much don't like yourself, there is no way that you're going to be able to just, poof, I love myself. Toxic positivity is a plague, I think. Being real with yourself as much as you can, I think, is really good. And so practices that allow you to explore sitting with discomfort, imperfection, you know, things like that. It's not suddenly going to make the world better for you right away. It takes practice, but it is possible. I'm here to say it's possible, and it starts with just accepting, you know. Okay, more of this. So let's see. I was doing that because it was dark over here, which I kind of liked, but it was so light here, so I wanted to bring some of the dark. I'm really liking what I'm seeing now. It was just too Pepto-Bismol pink. I didn't care for that so much. So now I'm just gonna take some of the pigment out. It also helps with adding more dynamic contrast. So, see, and stuff like this, I live for that. That just makes me really happy. So, and first and foremost, and please don't take this the wrong way, because I actually do care a lot about you guys. But I'm doing this for me first. Because that's the whole point of stroke by stroke, is using things that I know from being an art therapist. Never got to be a true art therapist. I was a what's called an ATRP, meaning I was provisional, because I didn't get to be a therapist long enough to really get all my independent licenses and stuff. So, and believe you me, that's one of the reasons I have to do so much stuff like this to regulate my emotions, because having the world ripped out from me kind of suddenly messed with me in a huge way, and I'm still dealing with the grief of having to lose or walk away from a career that had so much potential. And it all started when I got COVID. So, yeah, I'm going to use the hairdryer again. So I dried off my paintbrush, and now I'm going to lift off a little bit. So really, this is just a process of putting on, taking off, directing, and just letting it do its thing, whatever that's going to be. Kind of like life. I get very philosophical sometimes. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. That's why, you know, this channel may not be for everyone, and I get that, and I respect it. And it may be okay with you for a while, and then you move on. That's how it should be, frankly, in my opinion. But, you know, I can't be a therapist anymore. I can't be a professor anymore, but I can sure do art and talk somewhat. Sometimes I can't. Oh, look, see how it's coming off right there? And that's an interesting thing. If that happens, I'm just gonna re-wet it. And what that is it's the acrylic ink. You can see it's white, is lifting because it dries differently than the watercolor does. And that's okay, you know. If I was doing this for a client or something like that and this happened, I might not be happy. But the good part is I'm not doing this for a client. Been there, done that, don't need to do it anymore. And that's great, you know. I enjoyed working with clients because I used to do freelance design, and also I used to do design for places I worked. The university, I worked for Indiana University in Indianapolis for 10 years. Well, more than that, actually. But you know, and I had to do what they wanted me to do when I was doing those things. Then I became a professor and taught other people how to do those things. And I enjoyed working with clients, but I enjoy not working with clients too. So more of the hairdryer. And the reason that I have 2 jars of water is when one gets dirty, I can go to the other, and that's what I'm doing right now. So, and you can see the big difference here between the sepia and the burnt umber. So yeah, one of the drawbacks to doing things like this is you will have issues like that. And it's okay, because I'm not married to the outcome here, you know. For me, it really is a lot more about the process than the end product a lot of times. And I just I'm adding mica because why not? I like it, and it's my world, and if I want to add mica, I will. Especially, you know, that feeling of autonomy, especially for folks like me who are disabled, it is huge. And this art, being able to make a mess if I want and not worrying about it, is very freeing for me. And it also gives me that sense of I'm in charge. So, because there's so many things that I can't be in charge of, especially since I got sick. And so this is a reminder to me that, you know what, I do still have some autonomy, because becoming disabled took a lot of my autonomy for a while. And yeah, so I get it back by moving stuff around on paper, or in this case, mineral paper. And I'm just adding mica on some of these. I consider these like veins or something, actually. And so, and I'm not using a binder with it or anything. I probably will at some point in other videos, because I do have gum arabic, and I'm probably going to work on making some of my own paint and stuff like that. So, but that's not what I'm doing right now. And in this world where, you know, so much feels out of control, making art is one realm where you can have control, and it can look like whatever you want it to look like. And to me, that is incredible. It's a big deal to me. And talking with you guys, and I use the word, or the term, guys, gender independent, honestly. But that has made me feel like I have a purpose again. My life has some meaning again. That's a big deal for me. So thank you. I'll be doing the videos whether anybody watches or not, but knowing that other people do care about this is pretty awesome. And it gives me a sense of community, which is very important for people dealing with addiction. You know, because community, feeling like you are part of and accepted, even a little bit, is extremely therapeutic as well, and really helps me, for sure, to know I'm not alone. And yeah, and that's a huge thing. It's a very, very human thing. And I think it can get lost when dealing with, you know, a lot, because the world is a lot right now. It doesn't matter what your politics are, or, you know, anything. We are all dealing with a bunch of stuff in one way or another. And yeah, that can be very, very uncomfortable. So this is a way to help that. So and I just keep doing things on the image until it feels done to me. I very much let the image tell me pretty much what it wants to be, where it wants to go. And of course, you know, in conjunction with my own desires and, you know, for what I want it to look like and stuff like that, you know. So this one has a little bit more control because I'm coming in here and being a little precious right this minute. But meh, I can be. And so there we go. I am starting to feel like this is almost done though. So, yeah. And of course, when I use the mica or whatever, things like this, it honestly looks better in person, but it's still interesting on camera, I hope. But it just flashes beautifully in real life. And I don't know if you deal with this, but I know lots of artists do. Knowing when to stop. That is, that's an art in and of itself. When is an image done? Sometimes I know immediately, and other times I just worry it to death. And I'm kind of in that place right this second, I think. But that's okay. I'm going to spritz one more time. And I'm going to use my hairdryer one last time. Put the cap here. Okay. And hopefully this is going to finish it. I haven't run into this issue before. And I'm not 100% sure why, but I'm just going to come in here and, I mean, it obviously just wants that. And I'm going to add some of the mica to it too. Now I'm going to add water. You know, and some of my process too is, oh no, I killed it. So let's see if we can fix it. And that would be where I am right now. Because, yeah. and balance, you know, bringing this into other parts hopefully will help it not stand out like an ugly sore thumb. We'll just have to see about that, because frankly, I don't know. Okay, I think hairdryer one more time. I'm going to do this real quick here. Move this up that way. Maybe this over here. Okay. This line is way too harsh. Alrighty. And then last but not least, I know this is long and may not look so good, I don't know, but I am adding ivory black to certain areas. Okay, and then this is a watercolor ink that I'm using right now. Okay. Now I'm going to spritz. And now I'm going to use a smaller brush, round brush. This is a size 6. And I'm just gonna line it a little. And last but not least, I'm going to put acrylic ink. And coming back here to my small brush again. The wind is really picking up out there. Now I'm just gonna I realized that I've been sitting here for too long. I have no idea how long I've been doing this, but probably too long. Oh, goodness. Yeah. All right. And this will either make it better or make it really worse. And I don't know which it's going to do. I'm going to put the hair dryer on top of that. Oops. All right. Moment of truth. I don't love it and I don't hate it. It just kind of is. Okay. Spritzing again. Okay, and then this is the sepia. And this is acrylic ink again. And I'm going to put the indigo. And this is watercolor, liquid watercolor. And I definitely have overdone this, but you know, sorry. I'm actually enjoying it, even though it's making a huge freaking mess. But it's my mess. More Sepia. And then finally, get rid of the bubbles here. And then just one more time with the acrylic white. And then just water. And notice I didn't use any yellow in this, but the sepia has a yellow to it. And so it's introducing green, which I think is pretty cool personally. All right, heck with it. And notice the really interesting shapes that come when I just let it, you know, I'm basically throwing it. I've never done this before. At this point, I am playing because I wasn't happy. So that gives me kind of carte blanche because I've already screwed it up. I can't screw it up more. And definitely in my world, that is, that's a real thing. And so now I'm free to just play. Okay. Boy, I like that. Now, I don't know if it'll stay that way. But I wish it would, because that makes me really happy. All these little details that are happening. And of course, if I change the angle, and I'm adding a little bit more of the ivory black watercolor ink. Paper towel. Boy, I'm really using a lot of paper towels in this one, but that's all right. I think it needs it. Well, it took lots of layers and lots of messing around, but I'm hoping that I can get it to just dry kind of like that. We'll see. I'm not going to use the hairdryer because I'm pretty sure that's what's making stuff curl. The pigments, you know, lifting off of the paper. So if I just leave it alone, maybe it won't do that. And it's very hard for me to just leave things alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and through the magic of editing, it will be no time for you. Okay, I'm back. So I have let it dry a little bit. I have a cat in my chair I just sat on. Go on. Okay. And I have decided that I really do like what's happening here, and I am going to wipe this part so that I can make like a forest. So this could be like the sky. I don't always do like semi-representational things like that, but I don't know, for me, for some reason, this wants to happen. So I am certainly not one to say no when spirit speaks, because that's kind of how it feels. Not that I think this is anything lofty or anything like that. I think it would look good if I give it some space to be. That's doing interesting stuff as it is. going to tip it a little bit here, kind of facilitate that a little bit. And of course, the ever-present paper towels. Trying to figure out what I want to do here. Well, I'm going to drain a little bit more of the liquid down to the bottom and get rid of it. I am really happy with the texture of the white here, that it's doing its thing. So that's, to me, that's pretty wonderful. I'm going to use jet black craft paint. Okay. And I'm going to use my Filbert brush to move this around. Let's see here. This is Chinese white. This is watercolor ink, not the acrylic that I've been using. Now I have to rinse this because I used the pipette to, or the airdrop. Yeah, the dropper, trying to get there. All right, and let's see here. Okay, this is a silicone shaper. So it's made out of, you know, it's very soft. It's made of silicone. And I'm just gonna come in here and like do this. So it's doing a little bit of like a sgraffito, which, you know, means scratching effect, because this goes down to the bottom layer when it's doing this. Of course, I said I was going to make a forest, and since it's an abstract, maybe it's just an abstract forest. I don't know. But it's not really looking much like a forest to me, but that's okay, because I actually am liking what is happening, and I don't have to put labels to it if I don't want to. I can just do it, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. And the reason I like these shapers is I can really get in there and move the pigments around. And so it's a very different kind of feel than using a paintbrush, both in terms of what I'm feeling, but also emotionally and so on and so forth, what it's doing in the painting as well. So, yeah. I'm going to add a little indigo, and come back here to the sepia, add some of the sepia. So the indigo is liquid watercolor. This is acrylic ink. But I want it to kind of mimic some of those greens and stuff we're seeing here. If it will. Don't know if it will. And this is another reason I work on a glass plate, because I can just go down into it without you know, like screwing it up or anything. And I'm coming back to my 11 round, and this is just water. I'm actually really looking for that muddy kind of color that, you know, normally we try to avoid mud. But in this situation, I don't think it's mud as much as just the color I want, frankly. And here you can really see how I'm using different parts of the brush differently. So, you know, practicing brush strokes for different things is probably a good activity as well. Because then you know what your brush is able to do and you can do it. Now I'm coming back to my silicone shaper. I'm just going to do this. And do I know what it is? No, I don't. I mean, I was thinking forest when I started, but now I'm thinking alien something. So, see, and because of the layering, as I scrub, you know, sort of scrub through it here, I'm picking up pieces of the different layers. And that's exciting to me. All right. Now I am going to use the hairdryer, and hopefully this doesn't screw it up. I'm going to, I think, pretty much call this image done. So this has been stroke by stroke, and you'll see that there are some changes to the last time you saw this image. I added Daler-Rowney acrylic ink, gold, and then also burnt umber and ivory black watercolor ink. And I am quite happy with the results, and I hope you enjoy it too. And I hope that you do what makes you happy. And this did make me happy. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Until we meet again, my friends.